Yo, Coach James here, and today's training is all about building your identity and self-image. This one is going to be extremely powerful, so I'm really excited to bring it to you. Now, this is going to be all about how controlling and developing your own identity actually holds the key to all the success or the failure you experience in your own life. All right, let's rip into it. So, what we're going to cover today, there are going to be two main topics. First up, we're going to identify what your identity and self-image really are, what they mean to you, and where they actually come from in the first place. Excuse me. Then we're going to build into building habits that build you. What you can start doing today to make huge changes in order to develop your existing self-image, your existing identity, so that it actually serves you and drives you towards the things that you truly desire in this world. All right? So I want to start off with this quote. Now, this quote, if you don't take anything else from this presentation today, write this down, make a note, take a screenshot, and never forget this quote. Because human beings always act, feel, and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. Let's do that again. Human beings always act, feel, and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true. That's the key word, imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. Now, this is a quote from Psycho-Cybernetics, which is a very deep book. It's a hell of a read. It is very deep level psychology. Now, Maxwell Maltz wrote this book, and he was a plastic surgeon. So what he found over the years of being a plastic surgeon and helping people change externally is that almost always they weren't happy. They didn't end up happy after the surgery because their internal feelings and attitudes remained the same. They didn't do anything to shift or change their internal beliefs and attitudes or build the way that they actually see themselves. So many times they just saw the same person in the mirror. You know, not from a physical perspective. Like, the change was obvious, but the way they felt about the change, the way they responded to what they were seeing, was stuck in their old identity, the one that they'd not moved away from internally, they'd only made a shift away from externally. So there's no better place that I can kick off this training than with this exact quote from Maxwell Maltz. Absolutely super powerful, because this summarizes everything that we're going to talk about. All right? So, self-image is the key to human personality and human behavior. Change the self-image and change the personality and behavior that you have. You cannot outperform your own self-image. Doesn't matter how hard you try. How you view yourself is always going to determine how you act, how you show up in the world every single day, the decisions you make, everything you do. You cannot impact your external world or the external world without changing your internal identity. And here's the thing here. The only way to do this, the only way to change your existing identity is to start acting, thinking, and performing like the person that you want to become right now. Right now. Now, you're not going to feel confident to do this because you're not that person yet. But we have to adopt the actions, the routines, the habits that the person that you want to become would have. The person that you want to become, when you visualize that and you get really clear on it, what habits do they have? What routines do they have that have got them where they want to be? And start implementing them right now. Start acting like the person you want to become right now. You cannot wait for this to happen. That's just not how it works. So that's the fundamental thing to remember here. Excuse me. This is a really cool way to look at it. A few examples here. You know, if swearing was always bad in your household growing up, you're going to believe it to be bad. And it actually was in my household. So I swear a fair bit now. And I use it for effect. I use it for when the time feels right to try and get my point across. Whether you agree with that that's necessary or not, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's the way I use it. It's to try and emphasize things. Now, if money was always hard to come by, you'll likely end up with a scarcity mindset. And this is the one I most relate to from all these, because it was in my household. We were never very poor or anything like that, but my dad always struggled for money. My mum always did stuff around us kids, and I remember having, 6 or 7 kids in our house because she was child minding. When we got home from school, there'd be other kids in my bloody biscuit tin and stuff like that. And, they always had to struggle hard for money. Like, it wasn't the easiest time when we were young kids in the 80s. Like, it really wasn't. And that really got implanted in my mind. So when I went to build my own business, that's something that really held me back for a long time and still does to this day. It's still something I'm trying to overcome. But understanding that money is actually in abundance and it's everywhere you look around you. If you look around you right now, you will see money everywhere. It's in the walls. People were paid to build the walls, to plaster them. It's in the equipment. It's in this microphone. That was somebody's idea that someone got paid for. Money's everywhere and it's not bad. In fact, the more money you can have, the more impact you can have in the world, because it gives you the tools. It's a tool you can use to impact more people then, to build better programs, to build yourself, to make the systems easier. Like, this is a different topic altogether, but I just wanted to dive into that one because I resonate heavily with that one. Now, you might resonate with the next one. If being overweight or unhealthy even was normal growing up, that will become your baseline. That will become the thing you revert back to, and it's deemed as okay by your existing identity. If all your friends around you are all more overweight than you won't feel particularly overweight all the time. If that's all you ever see, you might feel like it's okay to be where you are because you're better than the sum of those around you. Now, these are all perspectives. There is no right or wrong or true and false in any of these perspectives, and perspectives can be changed. Your current ones are purely based on the exposure that you've had to this date within your life. That's all they are based around. Now, in this next slide, I want to talk about above and below the line, and a really good way to visualize this. There's certain things in our lives that are above the line, and there's certain things that are below the line. And below the line is what really counts. It's what drives everything. And that is your identity, basically, which drives everything. And you'll understand that a lot more by the end of this presentation. Now, above the line are the things that people tend to focus on, the things that we all tend to focus on. Tools, tactics, and strategies. Now, the fitness industry example here is you'll have all tried before tools, tactics, and strategies to get a result, to change long term. And it's always backfired long term, because we didn't develop anything that was below the line, all the important things. So diets, trying to find the world's best exercise program, trying group classes, trying 6-week challenges, 30-day transformations, like all these things, tools and tactics and strategies, keto, whatever it is, bloody isogenics, God forbid. They're tools and tactics that never ever address anything below the line. Everything's above the line, surface level, not really going to make a big drastic change either way. It might get you a physical result short term, but it's never going to do anything long term, because you're always going to revert to below the line stuff, which is your identity. The only thing that you can control are your thoughts and actions. All right? Let that sink in for a second. So, when looking at the identity and the thoughts and actions that you have, you basically, we're looking to make consistent progress using the habits that the future you would have. That's what we're looking to do. Make consistent progress using the habits that the future you would have. So, if those actions are getting up at 6 a.m. to do some journaling, or working out a minimum of 4 times a week for 45 minutes, or keeping a close eye on your nutrition, then they are actions of that future you, that future identity that's got the result, that's got the body, that's got the health, that's got the vitality, that's able to show up in their world as a mum, as a partner, as a wife, whatever it is you may be, as the best version of themselves. So we need to adopt the thoughts and actions of our future self. They are the only two things we can control: thoughts and actions. And understand that we cannot control other people's. We always try to do this, but we cannot. So when you go down this road and you start making progress and you start building your own identity, you start changing your thinking patterns and in turn your actions, people aren't going to understand. People will judge. You will be holding up a mirror to other people that cannot and will not do this. So they're not going to understand. So you're going to get negativity. You're going to get a lack of support. But ultimately, you cannot change that. You cannot change other people. Hopefully, you can influence them in the right way through your actions. Yeah, you might even have a heated discussion with them which helps them change their thinking. But we can never rely on it. We can never rely on being able to change other people. So we have to focus on changing ourselves. Like I said, we cannot change our external environment without first changing ourselves. And if you don't believe in the identity that you're going to build, nobody else is going to believe in it. So you have to attack your internal first in order to be able to have an impact externally. Understand, not everyone's going to understand this journey that you're going through. They're not going to identify with it. It doesn't resonate with their identity. It's completely incongruent. It just doesn't match. You can't expect them to understand. So don't. Instead, focus on building your own identity. How do we do this? What does this look like? So there's really three versions. There's multiple versions of ourselves, but I want to look at the three main versions of ourselves today and how we can stretch your identity. I like to call it stretching your identity because we've each got our current identity, the way we are right now. And we can use thoughts and actions to move away from that identity. Usually, to hit your target, you're going to use mainly actions, and obviously thoughts drive actions. Like, there's no separating these two things. But I like to look at it like actions will get you to your target identity, but thoughts will get you to your future identity. The amazing people in the world, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, it was their thoughts that drove their future identity. That's what it really was. It's great because everything you look at, the phone that you might have in front of you, was somebody's idea in their mind, and it became a reality. So ideas do become a reality, providing the actions back them up. Every single time that happens. It's happening all around you all the time. It's happening in your own world. You are driving. Every outcome in your life, you are driving. So this is the way I like to look at it. Current identity, take actions towards a target identity. That might be, look, I want to have the routines in my life that really work for myself and work for my family. That my kids can see those routines in my life and they can see the progress that mum's making. And that's huge. But there's something that happens as we start to move across this journey to new identities. In fact, there's lots of things that happen. But a couple of key roadblocks, you might call it, are these. Common roadblocks are getting complacent and imposter syndrome. Now, getting complacent is where you're moving along towards this new identity of yours and you're seeing progress. You might even get to the identity B. Let's call it U version B. You might move away from A and towards B, and you get complacent and you stop doing the things that work. Call it self-sabotage, call it whatever you want. We all do this to some degree. We think that we don't need to continue doing the daily work and all the things that have got us where we need to be. We think we can take our foot off the gas, but that's just not the case. If you are not growing, you're dying, ultimately. Guys, forget this bullshit about people telling you just be happy the way you are, right? Look, there's a time and a place for self-love, and it's very important in our lives. It really is. But the best way to love yourself is to be consistently progressing towards a better version of yourself. Don't ever settle for what you're unhappy with. I'm not happy with the way my life is right now, and that's a positive thing because I want to be better tomorrow. I want to be better for myself and for my family, as a leader in my own world, as a dad, as a role model. I want to be better. I want to be the best I can be. Always looking for perfection. You're never going to find perfection, but you're always striving for progress. And that's what makes you happy. Seeing progress in your world every single day. This has been a really tough year for everyone. Those of you watching this in 2020. And I get it. There has to be a focus on looking after yourself, self-love. Look, progression is a form of self-love. It's the best form. Those are the people that are just like, just be happy with yourself, love yourself. No, do not love yourself if you're not happy. Okay? Show yourself, the respect of moving forward. Give yourself that respect that you deserve and become the best version of yourself. I know this might sound harsh, but it's the truth that I've become acutely aware of through my own journey and through journey of, helping hundreds of mums through this journey themselves. You guys are on this program because you're not happy with where you are. And that's fucking amazing. And I commend you for it. So let's just keep moving forward and keep making progress. Imposter syndrome is another thing that we can often feel because that happens when we're not aligned with either the identity that we've kind of left behind or the new identity. More so the new identity that we've ended up with. Holy shit, I'm getting these results. I've got these new routines. It's happened so quickly. I don't feel aligned with it because it's so far removed from the identity that I've become so comfortable with. And I'm outside of my comfort zone. I'm outside of my comfort zone and I want to go back. My mind, my body wants to protect itself and go back to being trapped, to not seeing results, to not being this new version of myself. I've been this version for 10, 15, 20 years, maybe my whole life, all of a sudden I'm in this new identity and I've got imposter syndrome, and that can lead to self-sabotage as well. So there's lots of things that can happen, and these are the main two that I see. Getting complacent, getting stagnant, hitting your new identity and being so happy with it that you stop doing the work and progressing. Like I said, if we're not growing, we're dying. We should be progressing every single day, and not in a negative mindset, in a very positive and empowering mindset. Guys, it comes down to which identity your thoughts and actions are congruent with. That's all it comes down to. And a lot of what we're talking about here is wrapped around this umbrella of perspective. Because if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And we have to do that if we're going to shift our identity. So, what I want to look at now is the 5 anchors of identity. I want to look at 5 things that, if you're doing these things well, will strengthen your identity. But failing to perform these things will keep you stuck or send you backwards. Now remember, everything you do, you always get a result. It's not a result that you're chasing. Every action leads to a result. You can do a diet and lose weight. You can do a diet and put weight on. Both of those things were results. What you want is the result that you actually desire, right? Every action gets a result. You always get a result. So what are the 5 things you can do right now, today, start doing, that are going to improve your chances of getting the result that you actually want, the desired outcome? Number 1 has to start with morning and evening routines. Because when you complete these, you feel like you're congruent with the person you want to become. So if you implement routines in the morning and an evening, it might be that you wake up in the morning and you do some journaling. Or it might be that just before bed, you speak for 10 minutes with your partner and you break down how the day's been, and you have at least 10 minutes a day reviewing your day. It might be that your morning thing is you get out of bed, your workout stuff's ready, you get straight into your workout. Whatever it is, those actions there are designed around the future version of you that you want to create. You know, they might not feel that congruent with you right now, but they are congruent with the person you want to become. Because you know that the person you want to become has the habit of X, has the habit of Y, has the habit of whatever. They have those habits. So your morning and evening routines are everything. That's how you start and finish the day. Every single day. And the sun is going to set regardless. The sun is going to rise regardless. This is a never-ending cycle. You know, the only things guaranteed are that we're born, we live for a while, and we die. The sun is going to rise, the sun is going to set. How are you going to end each one of those days and begin each one of those days? And that's why this is number 1. Number 2, exercise and nutrition. Pretty obvious. Guys, when you miss your workouts or you fail to fuel your body, you show up in the world poorly. There's no doubt about it. You always show up in the world better when you keep these promises to yourself, do your workout. It doesn't have to be super intense. You know how we roll on this program. It's about consistency and constantly showing up and keeping the promises that you've made to yourself. And fueling your body. You know, when you fuel your body, everyone's done it. You go a bit over the top on a night out. Can be with booze or food or whatever. You feel like absolute shit the day after. Now, hangovers come in many forms. A hangover can come in after just a bad day of nutrition. It doesn't have to involve alcohol. It can come after a couple of drinks. It can come after not hydrating properly. And you know, that water falls into this category. This is just overall looking after your physiology. This is the bracket here. Super important to maintain those standards in your life. Environment. Now, guys, this is a really, really powerful one. A really powerful one. New locations and environments provide new inspiration to become the person you want to become. And I've noticed that this year. Like, this is not something... I always knew the power of environment in terms of creating culture for this program. I know that I need to surround you mums with the right environment, support, in order to create culture that breeds success every day. Now, locations, you know, environment is kind of a couple of things, and the next point is people, which is heavily linked with environment. That's why they're together on the bottom here. But new locations and environments are amazing. Something I've done this year is every 5 or 6 weeks tried to get me and Patricia away, usually after a big milestone in our lives, whatever it might be, just to celebrate, right? And what I found is that when we go away, stay in a nice hotel, like nothing crazy fancy or anything like that, just somewhere nice, be around the ocean, what I found is that my brain just has this amazing refresh when we go to a new location and I'm surrounded by new environments, talking to new people, ordering coffees from new places, doing different things in the afternoon to normal. I'm still working on these most of these vacations. Like, I don't get to have a holiday every 5 weeks, but I'm just in a different environment. Patricia and Leo are able to do some stuff in the morning while I'm working. I'm able to have 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon where it's just family time. It's amazing. I have the most amazing thoughts, and I'm driven so much during these times. And when I get back, I'm even more driven. I'm even more driven when I'm back in my normal environment. You have to switch up your environment and place yourself in environments to grow as much as you physically can. Really important. And the next one, like I said, is people. Intrinsically linked with environment. And look, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's a Jim Rohn quote, which most people have heard, and it's so fucking true, it's unbelievable. It is so true. You cannot expect to grow your existing identity if you're surrounded by people that are dragging you down. You need to become, almost the dumbest person in the room. That's what I want to be. I want to be able to be elevated by the people around me. I don't want them dragging me down. I want them to question my thinking and to have intellectual conversations around whatever it might be, or be able to laugh and joke with around similar things and just enjoy myself. It's super important to surround yourself with the right people. It truly is. And obviously we know that one of the pillars of this program is built on putting you guys in an environment to succeed. Our group, the people you're around, you're surrounded by mums that have invested heavily in themselves on this program. All the mums on this program have decided it's non-negotiable to make this change. Failure is not an option. So that's what we're working with on this program, where failure is not an option. Now, when you can be around that kind of attitude and those kind of standards, you'll raise your own. You will raise up, and you'll have all noticed this, on this program. And the last one, self-care. Really important. Something that this is the worst one for me out of all of them. I am the worst example of this, but I'm trying to get better. Because I work home-based a lot of the time, and even if I do go out, usually in my day-to-day life, go to the gym, wear my gym stuff, maybe go to a coffee shop, just wear flip-flops or thongs, as you guys say, board shorts and a t-shirt. That's it. It doesn't really inspire great thought. It doesn't inspire the company and the business I want to build that's having an impact in the world that's never been seen before. The vision we've got to change 1,000 lives by the year 2025, and bearing in mind we don't have a lot of people on the program, that's a big goal. That's a goal I've set that's almost unreachable, and I've done it on purpose. But, not having a shave and wearing my board shorts, it doesn't really reflect that vision. So I've had to get better at this. Obviously hair's not a thing for me. I just make sure it's shaved. But, your clothing, your hair, your trinkets, taking some time to put the jewellery on that you want, taking some time to feel nice. And look, I know you haven't got that much time as mums, but 5 minutes can make a big difference. It'll enable you to show up as your best self to the world. And then amazing things will happen. It really will. It's absolutely amazing how these things combine to create your identity. The way you see yourself. Even wearing a nice watch, wearing a nice ring. How do you see yourself? You see yourself as someone who wears a nice watch and gets ready and looks after themselves, does the hair, or you see yourself as somebody that wears sweatpants, and just with COVID, a lot of people fell into this trap, lack of self-care, and it will have broken a lot of identities. It's the same way that a lot of people that were going to a gym before COVID felt like they lost they lost a part of themselves when the gym got taken away from them. That's a direct result of their identity being sabotaged or damaged by an external event. Right? COVID came in, no longer allowed to go to the gym. For me, gym was heavily linked within my identity. That's my identity. I'm a person that goes to the gym. I'm a person that lifts weights. And that was taken away from me. Like one of these pillars here, one of these anchors. So that's a really good example, guys. So morning, evening routines, exercise and nutrition, environment, people, and self-care. These are basically, and there's lots more, but these are the 5 anchors of identity that I have found, from my own journey, and also over the past 3 years working with hundreds of mums. What I've noticed makes the big difference. So now what you're able to do is do a review of your life and say which one of these is lacking in my life. Because ultimately, you've just identified the one thing that's holding you back from growing your existing identity. That is one thing that's holding you back. Put these in a list. Rate yourself out of 5 on each of these. Where do you currently sit? Most of you, who are further into the program, who aren't just watching this as you've just joined, you'll have exercise and nutrition locked in. You might even have morning, evening routines locked in. But you might find that, in your environment and your people, we've been able to improve that for you. But outside of the program, you might find that those two things, environment and people, are really lacking, and self-care could be better. And there you go. You've just identified massive, massive ways to progress today, right now. So guys, I hope that helps. And I want to leave you with this thought. Everything in life can be taken away from you, except for your thoughts and identity. Now, I've put myself here. I have no idea. I didn't get this from anywhere, so I'm sure someone said it before, but I'm claiming it. So, guys, super important to remember. Everything can be taken away from you. Material possessions, even loved ones, like everything can be taken away from you, except your thoughts and your own identity. Guys, hope this was super useful. Do a self-assessment right now on the areas, the anchors of your life that are not currently where they need to be to propel you towards your future self, and take action today to fix it.